As we continue to explore landscape as a theme in drop-in drawing today, we have the opportunity to talk to German-born artist Ulrich Gleiter, who's known for his landscape paintings. His style is sometimes reminiscent of German Expressionism and the Russian Impressionists. He first studied at the Dresden Academy of Arts and later at Repin Academy in St. Petersburg, Russia. His work has been recognized with awards in the USA and in Russia and has been featured in books and magazines.
Hi, I'm Ulrich Gleiter and I'm painting a lot in plein air, and today I want to share some techniques with you that I have learned both painting plein air a lot by myself and after studying at the Dresden Academy of Fine Art and in St. Petersburg at the Repin School. Today I picked, we are on a farm, and I picked painting a truck, and it's evening light, so everything is very colorful with lots of shades and lots of nice warm tones. And I also always try to mix colors as little as possible. I mean, I try to mix basically on the canvas itself, because as I find that this gets the most vibrant results. So don't be scared to grab a color and put it onto the canvas, see what it does, and if it needs any corrections, that's not a bad thing at all, but just keep painting with it and take another color and make the correction. Basically, never be scared of color. Never be scared of using it. So we shouldn't forget about this car here too. And as we had sized down this one, the older one, something has to happen with this car as well. It's also way too big, I think, and it doesn't stand in line. It looked nice, but we have to kill this. Have it smaller. So that we will still have everything in perspective.
Yeah, and it's so wonderful to see you working outside, which I think is an engaging, exciting, and fascinating part of your art making process. So I wanted to begin by asking you, what inspired you to become an artist?
Actually, in my life, I was only, maybe not at the youngest age, it was already like I was 17, 18 years old. And before I didn't really have any much interest in art, but my family, we had moved to Munich within Germany from a small town. And I just discovered going to museums and just it was never something it wasn't something I haven't done really much before. But there were Munich had great museums. There were all these paintings, the French Impressionists, German painters, Spanish painters, Velázquez, Rubens, Rembrandt, and I was just so fascinated by this. And on the weekends I went there, I was copying, drawing after them. It was just something that caught all my interest. For my formal education, it began, like we already mentioned it before, it was at the Academy of Arts in Dresden. And just that school at that time had a reputation for a curriculum which was really focusing on, the human figure, the drawing and still life, and also landscapes, portraits, which was rare at the time already. But I really enjoyed those semesters. It was a fabulous time. But I noticed that for the senior years, I really had to look somewhere else because they were also changing their focus. And I looked at art schools in Poland and France, in Europe. And through friends, I heard about this really classical training in Russia. And then I did a trip to St. Petersburg and Moscow and looked at those art schools and decided that this was really the time best spent, this rigorous training. And of course, it meant really learning Russian, the language. It meant living in a totally new environment, this country, everything. But I was determined that it would be the right thing, and so it later happened that the school was really that St. Petersburg became the home for many years. Well, the training at art school you can really see here with these two images. Those several, not multi-day, but already multi-weeks poses, life-size figures, and like you can see, those were what we had been doing all day, all the years. That was really the program, that academic school. It was amazing, that experience, working in this very classical manner. And of course, it did have an impact also on my plein air painting, which I never gave up the whole time. I often remember just after school, when I was walking home, I had a with me and a canvas with me and just try to paint like souvenirs of the city, just for an hour on my way home. And I have a whole collection of those views over the years at home. And sometimes, I didn't paint on the street, but often I just climbed onto the roof of the academy and just painted off the roof. Yeah, from the roof and the river in St. Petersburg and across the Neva River and the beautiful architecture. And yeah, those of those were wonderful memories.
We are speaking to you, and you're in Portugal.
Exactly. This is just a few weeks ago. And actually, that painting is just behind me. I thought I would show it. Yes, I enjoyed very much here.
So, Ulrich, I first discovered your work when I came upon your online solo exhibition at 1261 Gallery. How did 1261 find you?
That was at the Core Show many years ago. I think everybody in Denver knows Kwang Ho. And Kwang Ho was, or is still today, the curator. He was interested in my, yes, saw them and thought it would be a fit for the gallery. And we have been exhibiting over the years.
So, I hope everybody gets to check out the 1261 virtual exhibition. That way, you can see many more amazing works from Ulrich. So, this piece titled The White Nights in Finland really captured my attention with this beautiful nighttime scene.
I think this was like as dark as it gets. And this was probably like 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning.
Hmm.
It was the darkest part of the night. It didn't get darker. Before that, it was lighter, and after it was brighter. So this was the darkest part of the night. Well, training and schooling is, of course, one thing, but I believe that developing a style, which believe have developed now with landscape painting, is, of course, something that only that a painter develops constantly and through painting a lot and exchange with other painters, and also your personal life can have great impacts how your painting develops. It always has a big impact when you relocate when you move, exhibition stresses, all these things in life. And when I'm looking back on my paintings, just I see that each year uh, a painting from this year is different than from the year before. Painting just isn't a formula. Uh, it's really, and it's a good sign, I believe, when painting changes over the years. And not everybody might like how you're, how you're in the direction your painting is moving. But that doesn't really matter so much. The most important thing is that when you're painting, that it's a reflection of how you're living, and that it is changing. And I think this is it's a reflection of your life, and that is when it is really a part of you.
So something else that I've noticed about your work is all of these beautiful layers of color and texture that you build up.
When you have a lots of time for a painting, you can relax, you put it away, and then it dries, and then you go over it again. That, of course, enables this texture. All of my paintings usually uh, get created when on after on several sittings out there. I think for this one, probably I was painting it over maybe 2 weeks. I mean, I didn't go paint every day, but yeah, so you start out and then it dries, the first layer dries, then you go again. Shadows might fall differently, and that really helps this buildup of texture. Things that happen by chance are always the best things. That's also why it is very good not to paint every day. It's always good to have breaks in between, because maybe sometimes you were seeing things too strong, too bright, or too dark than they were in nature. But painting home, and you see, actually, this really helps enhance the picture that is the picture in your as you have it in your imagination, and not that it shouldn't be a copy of what you have there, but it gets detached from this pure recording of nature, and you create like a world of its own. Let the painting rest for some time, and then come back. Then really good things, because you're never recording. You're painting some image which is in that should you're painting the feeling when you're out there. I just always loved painting outdoors, and at that stage, as a student, which we were talking about before, plein air painting had really been, like part of the training, sketching, and like just an element of learning, just as you sketch, as you seeing colors, seeing a composition, it had this meaning to me. But it's just like a general idea in painting, always before, or when you're making a piece of art, always before you start doing it, you should always have a very clear idea. Why am I actually doing this? So, and in my case, this means like, why do I paint landscapes? Why do they inspire me so often for new paintings? And I would say in landscapes and nature, to me, it has got just this timelessness. Just when we can watch clouds as they move through a mountain valley, or trees in a forest, or the sea, when rain is hitting it, when in heavy snowfall, heat, all of this can just really lift up, lift us up emotionally, uh, above everyday worries about things that come close into our lives. Nature, its forces, how they never stop moving. To me, this just gives me the strongest impressions, which I want to convey with my paintings. And this is why just I appreciate painting landscapes so much. And for instance, uh, this painting here, it has got you could say like it's a scene in Burgundy, but for me, what actually inspired me in this painting, it was just, the heat of the day, which I wanted to convey.
This piece here is very fascinating to me because if you can see in one of these process images to the right, you can see the snow falling. Um, and I imagine it's falling on,
Exactly.
yeah, onto your palette. And I love your palette. Look at all of that thick paint. So I imagine that there's a certain level of challenge when it comes to working outside in the winter and when the snow is falling. Do you ever see that the snow changes the consistency of the paint?
It really does. In fact, that's a big danger. Here, it wasn't a problem with this painting because uh, I started out in sunlight, and then the snowfall came, and I basically packed up. But say if you are painting a painting on a gray day, and you're painting in the snow, and you're painting with the snowfall, and the snowfall adds up, and you're getting lots of snow into your, not, it's not about the snow that is in your palette. That's of course nasty, but you don't, because your painting is snowing in, and you get worse, and you don't really see it. You only see what you're actually painting when you're home in the studio, when it has dried.
What are the challenges and benefits of creating art outside?
Well, a benefit is of course that you have got this impression. You're feeling so much nature. You're feeling so much, just everything what surrounds you, and that can and that gives you just so many ideas, such a desire to paint, um, which is incredible. I mean, sometimes even say when you feel, oh, I'm not inspired, I don't want to paint, and then you see the spot, and you see some moment which just fascinates you, and yeah, you just want to paint. You just get to act, you get together all your energy that you have, and sometimes plein air painting, especially with sun, can happen very quickly, like just less than an hour, and you can do all the work for one day. And I mean, if you have painted for this 1 hour, then your whole day will have a different feeling. Like my teacher once said, it's enough when you only paint for half an hour per day, but if you are exhausted so much after that half hour that you can only sit in a chair and only rest, then you have painted. You can paint for 5 hours and you don't need to rest afterward. It means you have not painted. And yes, so especially with me, I just feel that plein air painting gives you looking at nature, looking outside, looking at some shadows, how they're moving, just can really fascinate you. I would say like the biggest luxury that you can have is like you noticed I was talking that sometimes the painting takes very long. I'm like it sometimes can take the 6 weeks or something are involved from start to end. This is what I mean luxury. If you can have enough time on a trip in your career to sit back and let the painting stand for like a week or 2 weeks and wait until the weather is good again, or even if the weather is right, just say, oh, I don't feel like painting, I'm going to do something else, going to paint somewhere else, and then return to it and have and then add those last brush strokes after a long break can from nature again can make great results. But like I say, that is the biggest luxury that you can have as a plein air painter, if you have the time in between available, the sessions. And I just remember how several years ago I regularly had the time to go to leave the city for 2, 3 months and just go just live at the cabin in the woods outside of the city and just paint. And now, of course, exhibition schedules, getting paintings to galleries, driving through Europe, and it just doesn't. These things didn't happen for a long time already. I did some of my best paintings in these when I was outside for like 2, 3 months. I always kept daydreaming about how much I would wish again to arrive at a place in deep winter and watch the snow melt, meet the first greens again, and then meet summer. And this was just my biggest dream. And ironically, in this summer and this spring, it happened. It happened because it happened because with the quarantine setting in, um, I and my wife, we were stuck in Finland. It turned out that we were there for 4 months, and this plan that I've had to arrive at a place in winter and leave in the summer, yes, turned out very well. And yeah, this year, I did along the way in southern Finland.
So, what was your experience here in Colorado?
This was my first time that I was at all in the United States. A little bit over 10 years ago, to the left, I was doing plein air competitions in the States. And it actually was my first time that I was in the States painting. I had just finished art school in Russia, in St. Petersburg, and did a tour of plein air competitions in the summer. And I started out in San Francisco, and then to Wyoming, and then in Estes Park. And yes, and this is the left is, and these are paintings that I painted in these competitions, right? I was overwhelmed by the Western United States, by its beauty, openness, and that excitement, and I think that comes across.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, these are really great compositions.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you very much for the opportunity.